Okay, laying out the main spar and the rear spars. Okay, I'll glue the halves together. The main spar is an 1/8 inch spar, just like the front spars are an 1/8 inch spar. The rear spars are going to be a little bit smaller. They're like 3/32 spars. So we're going to lay this out. All we did was the main spar is 6 3/4 inches back, okay, from the nose, which just happens to be a 1/2 inch forward of the firewall. So that's the easiest way to measure it. And then using your straight edge and some triangles, and get you a straight line cut across here. Well, these numbers didn't really happen by accident. The way this is set up with the sweep and the cord and the tip the same size, the neutral point of this airplane comes out to about 7.5 inches back from the nose. Comes out to 7.5 inches. The firewall is it's real close to that. It's 7 1/4 inch, and then a firewall bolts on the end. So the motor is just behind the neutral point. The idea is to keep it where we don't get it tail heavy. The spar is 6 3/4 inches back. That's the rearward port. That's the furthest rear of the balance range on this thing, which balances about 6 3/8 to 6 3/4. That's the balance range. So hopefully on our first flight we're going to be up, a little bit on the nose there, right there. But the rear CG range is right on this spar. That's why we're putting it there, 6 3/4. So it's right there on the spar. So when we kind of know where your CG is, not to mention the fact it strengthens the center of the airplane. So now what we're going to do is we're just going to put the main spar in here. Going to do that, cut the link. We're going to put that in. And then we're going to do the 3/32 spars, which I don't have in my hands right now. Those are only going to be 12 inches long. And we measured out 2 inches out along the main spar, put a line there. We've got our other line perpendicular, 3 3/4 inches back. Drew our reference line, and then just drew down 12 inches. The rear spar is only going to go from here to here. The rear spar's job is just to kind of strengthen the rear end, so when you have those impacts that hit it, it keeps it from splitting the wings right there. It kind of helps to control that, not to mention add a little bit of stiffness, but it's more just to keep that wing from flexing and splitting right there. So now we're just going to cut it out. The only thing to bear in mind, you do this main spar here, you're going to have to cut out here deeper. So you push that spar in far enough so it's flush right in here. So it'll have to be deeper cut out here than it is in the center. That's just the way the contour of the airfoil is. So just make sure you cut it deep enough out there where the center is flush. The top of the spar is flush right there. Okay, now we got it all sparred up, top and bottom. Everything's dry. It is all dry. Put it over on the bottom. Now we're just going to cut out the bottom battery cover of a piece of Coroplast with the battery head measured in there. Basically, you want to make it about 1/4 inch around. This one came out to like 2 inches by 4.5. We set it in there, chop off the corners a little bit. Then while we're cutting out our straight edge, we use a knife and cut lines around the edges of it. Now we're going to take a motor tool. You can actually pluck those out if you want to do it and glue it in, but if you have a motor tool, you can set the depth, and then we're just going to rat it out. It's important that you cut those lines, because when you rat it, the bit will follow those lines and rat out the foam. Okay, it's a step I highly recommend, and whoever came up with this idea came up with a fantastic idea. It's called goop hinges. Only I'm going to be using Gorilla Clear Grip, which is basically the same stuff. And man, I recommend this for all of them. This just works extremely well. It's real simple to do as well. Once you get the elevons cut, you got to cut. You leave about a 1/16 of an inch gap there on each side on the ends right there, so it's got to move up and down. You literally tape these down. But first thing you do is you put your tapes going this way. You pull the elevon up flush with the trailing edge here. Put those down. Then I take a pin and push it in here to secure the elevon in place. So the idea is you want this elevon flush. These 3 vertical ones go on first, and then you take another strip of tape and go here about a 1/2 inch up from the elevon and about 1/2 inch down. And these here are just one's at the end and one's at the middle. And then it's really simple. You just need this adhesive, this Gorilla Glue, or in my case, Gorilla Clear, or a Goop or Gorilla Clear Grip, a credit card. A good stiff one works pretty good. And it's pretty simple, and probably a paper towel would help. I can run out of paper towels around here. Okay, and all you really got to do is take the glue and put quite a bit of it, because you're gonna smooth it out. I mean, if you do it a couple of times, you kind of get the feel of it. And I do it one at a time, because you can't really smooth this out stuff too much. It starts setting up, and it gets kind of sticky. All you do is you do that, and you take your credit card, and the tape actually acts as kind of a spacer for the glue, and then just spread it out, nice and smooth, like that. Now go on to the next one. Right there to have a tad too much, so not enough, because it's hard to go back over. Once this stuff starts setting up, it doesn't spread too well. And then just simply spread this hinge of the stuff on there. Okay, so you got a nice little, there you go. Now you give it just a few minutes to kind of set up, and then what you want to do is, you've got thinner tape than the thicker tape you put on there to spread it out. What we're going to do is we're going to pull go ahead and pull it, and also, you know, found is always pull away from it, because you don't want to leave this tape on until it sets. It'd be hard to get off. You'd have to use a blade and cut it. That's why these top pieces go on top. I'll take that one off. And again, pulling away from the glue line. Real easy. Take that one off. Oops. Now, we're going to replace these big ones with smaller ones, so they won't be on the glue. So we just simply take a piece of tape. We'll go ahead and take this one off. Again, pull into the wing away from it. And then replace this with a piece of tape that's outside away from the glue. No. Now, all you got to do is just let that dry. And when it dries, you'll be amazed at how strong that hinge is. Now, that's not going to be the only hinge that's going to hold this Elevon on. You're just going to laminate over it. And the laminate's going to add some strength to it. It does add a little more difficulty to laminate the bottom of it. It's not that big of a deal. But the other advantage is when you paint it, you can paint it with the Elevons on, which is pretty cool. But it makes for a nice, strong hinge line. It also closes the gap up to nothing and just makes it look really nice, really neat. Again, whoever came up with this idea, I applaud you. It's a fantastic idea.